Welcome to the Princeton Podcast, where we talk about upcoming events, news, and local businesses. This is Princeton. Play here, stay here.
Before we get started today, just a reminder to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're also recording on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at This is Princeton MN.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Princeton Public Schools, an innovative leader in instruction and developing in every learner the ability to succeed in an ever-changing world. Together, we are Tiger Strong. I'm Zach Kitzman, here with Kim Young, Mary Patnode. We're going to start today off with some upcoming events. Kim's got a couple to go through, so hang tight.
All right. Our event announcements today are brought to you by Sherburne State Bank with branches in Becker, Monticello, and Princeton. So coming up on May 24th, we've got the senior dance from 1 to 4 at the VFW in the back room. It's $10 a person. May 25th is the monthly community table from 4:30 to 6:30 at Trinity Crossing. That is a free event open to the public. Memorial Day, May 29th, is the Memorial Day program at 10 a.m. at the Princeton High School Performing Arts Center. That will be followed by a program at Oak Knoll Cemetery at 11, and then that will be followed by a brief Riverside service at Riverside Park. And then you can join your neighbors for a free lunch at the VFW in the American Room at noon. So there's a lot going on Memorial Day, so be sure to join. June 2nd, Friday, June 2nd, is the Princeton High School graduation at 7 p.m. at Princeton High School. Tickets are required for that event. Then Sunday, June 4th, is the Princeton Ambassador's coronation at 4 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center at the high school. And June 10th is the Wildflower Tour from 10 a.m. to noon at Prairie's Edge Wildlife Drive at the Refuge. Take this tour to see wildflowers and native grasses whose colors and textures decorate the summer landscape. And finally, the last event we want to talk about is going to be the subject of our podcast today, the 2023 Rum River Festival. Mary, do you want to introduce today's guest?
It would be my absolute pleasure. You know him, you love him, you might be scared of him, and if he's pulled you over, you probably don't like him. You guessed it. Today's guest is Princeton's Chief of Police, Todd Frederick.
Yeah.
Wow, what an entry. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
So we're going to talk today all things Rum River Festival. We're going to start off with the big parade, the biggest event, I'd say, of the festival, the kickoff. And I'm going to start off with probably one of the most popular questions that I get as you and I are working together with the parade route is, why can people not throw candy?
So, obviously, the problems in the past that we've had is we don't want little kids running up to the floats. Some of these floats are being pulled by tractors and so forth, or big pickup trucks and whatnot. And, driving those floats are just important enough to pay attention to the float in front of you, so we don't have a rear end type accident. So sometimes these drivers have a lot going on, and so we just want these kids and people to stay back, onto that shoulder line is kind of the imaginary line where we want to try to keep all those kids back, so we don't have an incident where somebody gets run over.
Perfect. I had a friend ask me the other day, we were talking about it, and he said, so I can't load up my potato shooter with candy then and shoot it out? One of your former hockey players, you can probably guess who that might have been.
Yeah, there's a few possibilities. No, I think candy's a big part of the event, right? And we try to remind all the different float participants, hey, really give that candy a good chuck. Make sure it gets past those shoulder lines and on the roadway, so that way, again, we've had some close occasions where we've had some mishaps where kids have been grabbed at the last minute, and you hear about these unfortunate stories and scary stories all the way through, these summer days of the state where kids are getting, maybe hit or bumping off of a tire, or somebody's grabbing them at the last minute. So we want to have a fun night and obviously not have any injuries.
Yeah, it's good for parents to know and to just be patient and know that all of the float entries have been told that make sure to get the candy up to the curb so that none of the kids come out.
And I think that there's kind of I think that there's almost kind of an idea and thought that you can't throw candy. I think that has gotten in people's head that they don't let you throw candy, which is not true.
Correct.
We just ask that walkers toss the candy on the side to make sure it gets to the shoulder instead of throwing it off the trailer or the float.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything, right? And I'm sure where that message or that rumor, right, has gotten out is we've had to have some difficult conversations with some float goers in regards to, hey, we're taking the candy away here, or you're going to stop throwing it because obviously we're not following directions. So, you know, again, the biggest thing is just we're super worried about the kids. We want the kids to be excited and have fun. And you know, my girls are older, but we had them there when they were young, and you really got to keep tabs on them, and you really got to make sure you're paying attention to them because, you know, the candy piece is a big part of the parade. And I think, you know, from a bystander watching, right, you know, these floats spend a lot of money purchasing the candy. So I guess to go along with that, right, just be patient, you know. We have a little bit of that disgruntled, I can't believe I only got one piece of candy or whatever it is, right, that we hear. Like, just everybody just take a breath and understand that there's a great deal of expense that goes into this. And if for some reason they run out, they run out. The next float behind them will have candy or something like that. So
Yeah. Do you want to get into, should we get into the parade route?
Yeah,
Road
let's talk about
closures
that. Yeah, and how people, there's lots of questions.
Well, first
But
of all, we should talk about the date. It's the date of the
Good
parade.
idea. June 8th at 6 PM. That's the kind of the kickoff of the festival. The ambassadors will be crowned by then, and we'll be ready to go.
By 6 p.m., will the roads be closed by that time, or are they starting to close at that
They'll
time?
be closed, yeah.
yeah, so basically we'll have it posted a day before. The road closure where we don't want vehicles parking on First Street, Rum River Drive, and then 8th Avenue South, stretching all the way to the high school, starts around that 4:30, 4 o'clock time frame. Probably at 5:15-ish is when we actually will shut the road down where the detour will start, and that detour obviously, you know, is at 6th Street South, and it's at 2nd where they're going to take 4th Avenue. Now, of course, there's other ways that you can go. You know, we always use the word be creative, right? If you think you're going to drive through town and stop by the bank or run to the coffee shop or whatever at 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's going to be super tough. 5:15-ish is when the roads will close, and then obviously we'll start dealing with the people that somehow miss the message that still have a car out there. And unfortunately, they'll you know, every year I think we have that. I think last year we had 5 or 6. It was quite a bit. We had a number of cars that we had to tow just because we could not find owners, and I think we actually had to delay maybe a few minutes the parade start just because we had a couple that we were, you know, because we only have so many tow services in town, so it takes a little bit of while. So, you know, our biggest message is by that you know, I always tell people by 4 o'clock, just try to stay away from that downtown area because things are getting super busy. And then 5:15 is going to be absolutely the drop dead. Boom, we're shutting it down. And then, yeah, we start the parade at 6.
So could you give some sort of landmarks as to where the roads will be closed at that time, or you don't want people entering?
Yeah, so if you go to the south end of town, so 6th Street South would be like the car wash, and of course I forget the name. It's the new
Get Dressed?
Get Dressed.
Yeah.
Get Dressed are on the corners there. Everybody kind of refers to it as the old Coburn's intersection, so to speak. Yeah, that's right there as well. That'll have a detour. So obviously you're not going to be able to travel down Rum River Drive past that. You'll go there you're only going to be able to turn right, which would take you down 4th Avenue South, kind of by the library for the detour. On the north end, the detour will be at 2nd Street, so that corner would be like the Pizza Pub corner. That's where that'll get shut down, so you won't be able to travel north. So you'll have to take a left, and we let you either go left or right there. And then we obviously will have a closure at like that 9th Avenue at 1st Street, which would be down by the depot, or the, you know, like public utilities, stuff like that. So there'll be a detour there. So I think those 3 areas pretty much won't allow you to travel past that. You know, as far as like, you know, people always ask, like, where can I drop my child off for that float piece? Well, my biggest piece is get there. Don't make this last minute. Usually the ones that are having problems are the ones that are 5:30, 5:15. And so once we get to that closure, it's going to be super difficult to get to where your numbered float spot is. Probably the easiest way to get there would be coming in from like the, kind of that Mark Park backside, that west side of the area. Come in that way. Don't expect that you're going to be able to drive down Rum River or First Street and filter in through that where those numbered float spots are. But again, you can bypass that by just planning your schedule just a little bit earlier and trying to get there by that 4:30, 5 o'clock time frame.
And I'd say too that those that are lining up along the streets, it happens early, to be mindful of that closure time, because it's not, a lot of times when the crowds are getting big, it's still not closed. And
Yeah.
people have this feeling like, I can just wander out in the middle of the street and then, vroom, there goes a car.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
and you're right. It's well, and it's kind of twofold, right? So we have the problem when that, I think we saw chairs like at 10 o'clock the night before.
The night
People are
before,
putting
yes.
their chairs out,
Uh-huh.
right?
And they can.
They can, absolutely. We just tell them to be mindful of private property, right? Like if you're at a residential yard, obviously, the right of way is still city property, but it might not be a bad idea just to knock on a neighbor's door and just say, hey, would you mind if I put my chairs out tonight? Or a lot of them start filtering in, that next morning, you really see it by lunchtime of the parade day where chairs are being stacked out and so forth. And obviously you have residential areas that they rope it off. Well, obviously be respectful of that, because that would be somebody taking the initiative because maybe they have family coming over and stuff like that. There's plenty of places to sit within this parade route. The parade route is long enough where there's open spots everywhere. But going back to your question, you're 100% right. We have two problems that occur. People that get there early, which is great, right? But then they just assume that the road is closed. And they're, kids are playing and they're walking. So we just, stay on the sidewalk, stay on the curbside, so that way we can keep that traffic flow open. To the other part, right, drivers, right, we get a lot of, the gawking, right, people are looking at everything going on, and believe it or not, we usually have a number of accidents prior to the parade, just because, and they're the kind of the low impact, simple rear end type car accidents.
Fender benders.
Just because people are like looking at different stuff, and then you got the, I'm not sure what they're called, but the guys in the carts with the balloons and they're selling
Yes.
stuff, right?
Oh,
They're roaming around and people are trying to pull over to buy stuff. So, it's a great atmosphere, but we just need everybody to just kind of slow down, pay attention, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, be aware.
Yeah.
And speaking of the getting there early and getting a seat and setting your chair out, the Elam Home residents always block off a section in front, so be mindful of that. They usually put out tape so that their residents can just be, brought out when the parade starts. And directly across from that, we have a silent auction winner that we set up a tent. It's right across from the Elam Home, kind of on the district office side. And that will be reserved for the people who won that, were the winning bidders of that tent. And so there will be that will be reserved as well.
Yeah, and it's right. It's just a little bit of common sense, right? This is a big deal for the Elam Home and the Keeley House. It's getting people outside of those facilities and letting them enjoy the nice fresh air. And so, and we do occasionally get where people will put their chairs there. And I think everything's been super kosher, but occasionally we have to remind people, like, this isn't for you. This is the people at the Elam Home or Keeley House, or right, don't stack your chairs in front of the judge's trailer. So there's a lot of stuff to just that people just need to kind of have a little bit of understanding of what's going on. So
Do you remember your answer as a child to the common question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Our students have an opportunity to explore and narrow in on their interests with our Tiger Career Academies. Students can freely explore career and college options before racking up student debt. With 6 career academies: Human Services Academy, Agriculture and Natural Resources Academy, Health Science Academy, Engineering, Manufacturing, and Technology Academy, Information Systems, Communications and Art Academy, Business Management and Administration Academy. Each with multiple pathways and 72 trimester class slots, students have many opportunities to explore and prepare for their future. Our goal is for every student to graduate with an industry credential, certification, workplace experience, college credit, internship, or mentorship. Connecting their learning to outside experiences, students apply new skills with meaning and relevance to the field. Go to www.isd477.org/academies to find your calling.
The sidewalks on Rum River Drive in the business fronts and right here on First Street, that's owned by the city,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
people can anybody can put their chairs out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
As
Yep.
long as they're not causing, like,
Blocking.
blocking people from
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
on the sidewalks.
Well, and I would even say that 8th Avenue is fine, but again, have those great conversations with the residents there going, would you mind? Because, I mean, if you drive the parade, you're going to see these empty yards where maybe the people are just not home or they went somewhere else in the parade route, So we encourage people just to have conversations and just ask for, hey, is it okay if I put some chairs up here for my family? And I can't imagine people would say no. I think the ones that will say, well, no, is because maybe they have, you have a lot of residents that have their entire family or friends come over, right? And
Yes.
they set up shop there, and those are the ones that you usually see where they say, can you maybe go down one property or something like that? So it's just a little bit of just asking and having those wonderful conversations with each other.
Yep.
And what about parking? Where would be the best place? Just to find a spot outside of the route and the mall parking, or?
Yeah, I mean, some of the places that first come to my mind are like, you have the two malls, right? Princeton Mall and Riverside Mall. Those are open for the most part to park your cars. I would say, any residential street area outside of the parade route. Obviously don't park your cars on Rum, 1st or 8th. But I mean, 7th and 6th. Obviously, we don't allow any parking on 4th Avenue because that's the detour. And if it's, we know people that maybe go to Pizza Barn and have dinner, or go to Pizza Pub or restaurants in town. It might be a situation where you could ask even those businesses or restaurant owners if you mind if we park there. Like you look at some of the banks right there. They close at. They actually, I think, close a little bit earlier just for the parade itself.
I think so.
Some of
Yeah, I
those
think
lots
so,
are
too.
going to be open, but I would again encourage people that if it's private property to make sure they're asking if it's okay to park there.
And you're going to have to walk a little bit. I mean, for the most part.
Well, and you see a lot of people that will get there purposely earlier, right? And drop off, the people that maybe aren't as capable of walking as
Right.
other people, and then they go find a place to park, and then they'll come back and pick up, Don't expect to get out of the city in a hurry. I always tell people that it's like the state fair or something like everybody just has to have a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
We experience a number of so the typical calls for us after the parade route's over is I can't find my car. I can't find my kids, which we get really worried about. And then the simple little fender benders, right? And so, everybody I think is in such a hurry to, okay, let's go on to the next thing, right? Or let's get home and get to and I know kids are tired and stuff like that, but everybody just needs to maybe just slow down just a little bit and before they get in their vehicle, if you're driving the car, check around you to make sure that you have enough room to back out of a spot or put your car in a position to, I always tell my wife and my daughter who's driving now is if you have the capabilities of backing into a parking spot in events like this, back into a parking spot, because when you pull out into traffic, it'll be much easier, So those are some simple things that we can be doing just to eliminate maybe some of the call load that we go through.
Yeah, I think that after the parade, it's patience is the main
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
Because it does take a little while. But if you are waiting and you feel like picking up garbage cans or doing stuff at the chamber, you're more than welcome to stop by
Yeah.
here. Because we'll be working.
Please pick up your garbage too.
Yes.
After the fair, it's always, it's tough to see the street just littered sometimes. So
You're right.
I mean, if you have candy, you have bottles of whatever, pop, just pick up after yourself, and no reason to leave it behind.
No, we
Don't
have
forget to bring
cans
bags.
we have cans that we leave out and for people. And
I mean, if you think about this, there's a lot to this, right?
Yep.
You guys have been planning, we've been planning, and this is a non-vacation day for my police department. Well, actually, the 2 or 3 days are, so we have a full department that's working, and then you talk about like Public Works, and you talk about all these other different departments. You're 100% right. If everybody, We provide garbage cans, but even if you could just, like I always, bring that Quick Trip or Walmart plastic bag where you can throw your garbage in, tie it off, and if you happen to pass a garbage can, great, throw it away. If not, just bring it with you because we spend a great deal of time cleaning up. And then you also, if you think about it, you have a lot of these businesses that are shutting down early to allow for the event to occur. They're coming back to work and having to help clean up as well. And so I think it's super important if we could get everybody to kind of clean up their area.
Right.
That would be great.
Even on the homeowner side too.
Yeah.
Like if a
Absolutely.
homeowner is going to allow you to be in their yard, like no reason for you to leave garbage around and just, goes back to the number one, just pick up after yourself
Yeah.
and treat people how you would like to be treated.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah. So, should we go more into the beer garden?
Well, I was
Or-
gonna, first of all, I
You want
want
some,
to,
how about some like landmarks? So like start and end.
yes, because I was gonna
You
talk
want
a
that?
little bit more
Okay.
about the parade,
Yeah, so like the magical landmark for the start of the parade is Holiday Gas Station. That's what we tell everybody. That's where the parade starts. We get to the stoplights, which we can refer to as the clock tower stoplights. I'm going to what people always talk about. They take a left there and they head down to, we'll refer to it as like the school district building or early childhood building. Then they're going to take a left and head down to 8th Avenue, and then it basically empties into the high school parking lot area. So those are some good landmarks to understand basically where it starts and where it stops.
would you say it's about a mile?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
entire route?
Yeah, that's kind of what when people ask how long.
Yeah, maybe a little bit over a mile,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about an hour and a half. the
Well,
last
it
couple
all
years?
depends on the number. Now, this year is a non-political. We're not going to have, it's not an election year, so we usually have a lot more that year. But it's typically about an hour, close to an hour and a half. But it all depends. And one thing we get asked a lot about is how many marching bands are you going to have? How many marching bands are you going to have? Because that's a huge draw for a lot of people. Not all, I have found out, like marching bands, but a lot of people do. So what we have found out is school is tending to go later into the year. And so there are schools that are not out or are graduating that weekend. And a lot of schools have not yet had a chance to even rehearse once by the time our parade rolls around. And so Malacca actually graduates May 19th. And so they are always ready for our parade. But most schools are not. And so we just have a hard time getting bands. And so this year we'll have both of Malacca's bands. But one thing I would say is if you've never been to the Malacca parade, I'm going to give them a little shout out. Their parade is the following weekend, or the following Thursday, 1 week after ours. And their parade is entirely marching bands.
Yeah.
I mean, they fill in with floats, but it is 3 hours long, and it's marching band after marching band after marching band. So if you like marching bands, that's a good parade to check out the following week. So our parade is a mixture, I would say. And this year we're going to have a stilt walker in the parade. We're going to have a unicyclist in the parade. We're going to have the Shriners Drug and Bugle Corps. They're going to be in the parade. Possibly the Drumline Cracker Jacks. We're still kind of working to get them
I hope so.
in the parade.
How
So
fun.
we're going to have a little bit different entertainment and it rather than a bunch of marching bands. But we're always very grateful to Malacca for making the trip here. We kind of consider them our hometown band now.
Yeah, they're
since
great.
we don't have one, and they're
every year.
excellent. Yeah.
Even their junior.
Yep.
They're great.
If you have any other ideas that we should consider, please comment below and
Yeah.
we'll take a look at them.
Right.
It'd be fun to see what other people would like to see or have seen in other parades.
Yes.
Yeah, what your favorite part of a parade is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have several churches that are going to have their church band on the back of a trailer. So there'll be lots of music that way. There'll still be a lot of entertainment. So we have some really good units signed up as per usual. So that's kind of the story behind the lack of bands as the years have gone on. We're just a little too early for most schools.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that just popped in my head, so I want to say so I don't forget, is sometimes we get a little bit of unfortunate gaps within the band or the parade itself because maybe somebody, I think we had last year, somebody broke down, did the car not start, or there was something to that extent. How you know that the parade starts and how you know that it ends will be the Princeton Police Department will start it and will end it. So we've had issues where we've had that gap right towards the end, and people thought the parade was over, and they are folding chairs up, and they're starting to cross the roadway, and then we're having to get them back to the sidewalk. So again, I guess I feel like we've used the word patience quite a bit. Just try to watch for us. You'll know when the parade's over by the multitude of police cars that are coming down behind it to try to keep everybody, because at that time, once we are coming down Rum, we'll start opening up the detour, which then the job becomes keeping that traffic off of Rum until we can get onto First, and then Rum River Drive will open up. But we try to delay a little bit because we know it's virtually impossible for us to stop people crossing the roads to get through their cars and all that. So we try to delay enough to where we can let that happen. So there's a little bit of a chaotic plan, I guess, is that's the appropriate word. It looks a little bit out of sorts, but we've done this many years, and when you're bringing this many people to a city of our size, it takes a great deal of planning, and we're constantly watching weather, and we have medical response vehicles all over the place, just because obviously we've had the situations where people have, we've had people fall off the curb or just trip on a curb. We've had, where it's been super hot and heat, So, those things, right? Pay attention to where you're walking, and if it is warm out, right, make sure you have,
plenty of water
and
drink water.
Yeah.
Water and Gatorade, right, and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
So a squad car starts and a squad car ends.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And Kim, what color are our shirts this year for chamber?
They are like a cranberry.
Very
maroonish color.
So if any of you like questions or
And we'll have golf carts with signs on them that,
feel free to always
chamber
reach out to
yeah.
one of us, even if it's an emergency, we can very quickly get to Todd or one of the other volunteers. Because you even bring in your backup, please, guys.
Yeah, we have, so, again, like I mentioned earlier, every one of our officers in the department is working. Our reserve officers are there. Mille Lacs County provides help for us, so we have a number of their deputies and reserves down here helping with traffic control. And then, you have Princeton Fire who handles the medical response piece. So because of the parade, we break it up into sections. And so, and then we stage North Ambulance in certain areas, because the problem we have is that we can't get, we can get like a rescue ATV to a medical. We may have to transport that medical to an ambulance because it's so hard to get that ambulance close to a parade route. So we've continually tweak this to try to get the best response possible. So, there's a multitude of firemen that are in the parade driving I think they have, 50-some vehicles in it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
50-some. It seems like it.
I know.
There's a multitude
There's a
lot of fire trucks. And
A lot.
Again,
I can't remember what Ron said this year.
Again, that's a heavy favorite for the kids, and all that kind of stuff. But, some of those.
Some of the kids.
Some of the kids.
Some
right.
not so much.
Some, yeah. Some, and
Get a lot of criers.
a lot of crying. Some of those firemen will run right back to the station, park the fire truck, and then they'll get out, for that medical response rig. So, it's a well orchestrated evening of trying to just minimize the little bit of hiccups that we have.
Help all over.
That's right. And I just want to mention, too, that there will be not only garbage cans along the road, but also porta potties. And there are also food trucks along the road as well. So you can check those out. There'll be one at the district office. There'll be one in the Federated Co-op parking lot right on Rum River Drive. Be a couple in the in that mall parking lot by Bremer on the corner there. There'll be a couple there, so.
Can people download anything to, like a map or anything?
Well, there will be on Facebook. The map will
Okay,
be going up
perfect.
here pretty soon, as soon as I get it fixed.
Yeah, so the map is huge. If you're planning on coming to the event, you should have access to the map, because that tells you, Kim and the chamber does a wonderful job of getting those things put on a map to where people can go, have dinner.
Can we
Right.
put that map on the website as well?
Yep,
Okay. People can download it there. This is PrincetonMN.co.
yep, we can put it there. We can put it on the chamber website too, so,
Okay.
yep,
Link to the map will be in the description of the video.
absolutely.
All right. Should we jump to a quick break?
Let's do it.
All right.
Hanson Power and Lighting is your complete service electrical contractor, servicing residential and commercial for service calls, remodels, and new construction in your community. Now offering backup generator setups, electrical vehicle chargers, service upgrades, and underground feeders to outbuilding and pole sheds. Have an electrical project that needs a professional to handle it? Then let the experts take care of it for you. That's Hanson Power and Lighting. Give them a call, 612-369-5991.
We got going down on June 8th.
Well, I wanted to talk about the American Legion Medallion Hunt for a second. So that will start actually it'll start on Thursday, the day of the parade. And so what you'll need to do is there will be a clue posted on the chamber door, 507 First Street, and there will also be a clue posted on the Facebook page. And the medallion hunt, there's a clue a day, and the hunt goes on until somebody finds it.
Now, what is the level of difficulty this year?
I think the level of difficulty is high.
Okay.
So the American Legion sponsors this, and members of the American Legion help come up with the clues. And the past 2 years, it's been me and my dad, Art, and Luther Dorr. And for the past 2 years, they've gotten it on the second clue, and we've been really mad.
That's legends.
Those are
Yes.
legends.
Legends.
And they've got it on the second clue the last 2 years, and it's made us really mad. So
did they get
this
fired?
year? No, they didn't get fired, but we did add to the team.
So if no one's ever heard of this, could you explain a little more of what?
So we hide a medallion, and I can give you a photo to include.
Okay.
We hide a medallion and somewhere in the city limits of Princeton. And then we give clues as to where it might be. And if you find it, you get $100.
Where are the clues? Like they come to you for them, or?
No, they'll be on the chamber, posted on the chamber door and on Facebook.
Not to your house? Are you going to
Do not come to my house.
No.
Yep, so they'll be on the chamber door each day and then on the Facebook page.
Okay.
Were you asking for a friend?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. It's a
Yes.
close friend.
So it's really fun. And it's fun to come up with clues and think, where would I go if I heard this clue? And then, we kind of check, I'm sure everyone will, blah, blah, blah. And then
So
there's people that are
what
good
you're
at it.
saying is that because people have got it so fast, they've poked the bear, and now that you're thinking it's going to be hard this year.
I do.
I hope so.
I mean, we actually came up with an extra clue just in case we had to practically give away that. But I thought it's been kind of difficult the last couple of years, and people have found it, so.
We'll see.
Yep, so we'll see. So that will start on Thursday, and then again, there'll be a clue posted every morning until it's found, and then there'll be a announcement once it's found too.
Is that the same day as the parade?
Yep, that's when
Okay.
it starts, that morning. Yep. Also going on, the 3 days of the festival, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, is the citywide garage sale, which is organized by Small Business Casual. So, Todd, do you have anything you want to talk about with that?
Well, I mean,
Safety things?
this is a huge thing. I mean, I didn't realize this, but I mean, the years that we've done this, did we do this last year?
Yes, it's been
Was that-
going on the past couple of years, but there was a gap.
Yeah, so there's been quite a bit of draw. I think this is like the new, well, I don't know if it's a new thing, but I feel like I'll use my wife as an example, like they look for these citywide garage sales and bam, they're all over the place. And so I think with ours, just, obviously try to obey all the traffic laws. We have a lot of, let's see, what's a proper, maybe don't go as rogue as we see, like where you're darting across intersections and your car is in
U-turns.
your car is in neutral and it's still rolling and you're already running up to the garage sale, right?
No butting in line.
Right. I would assume if you talk to, and I guess I don't know this, but I would assume everybody would want cash. Maybe not, but obviously call us if there's a problem, because unfortunately we have to look out for that. We do have a number of fraudulent type things that occur, whether it's fake money or if I give you a 20, could you give me 10 and then I'll give you 5 and then you give me 20 back. Like there's those, so unfortunately we draw those people occasionally. So just be aware of yourself, those situations if you're actually having your own garage sale. And then try to park on the right side of the road. Don't block the road because the lady behind you or the guy behind you want to beat to the, because you saw something. So just, I know everybody's excited, but we're asking for a little bit of, we're going to say it again, patience.
Word of the day.
Everyone,
Word of the day.
patience.
It's a huge thing. it's amazing. I mean, it's great, right? We draw more people to our community, and that helps our restaurants and helps our businesses and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is a busy 3 days. Which is fun.
Yes.
I mean, I think everybody enjoys themselves, and we seem to keep every year we add something to it, and it's good. So.
Yeah, one thing that is really catching on is organizations are jumping in on it and organizing events around the Rum River Festival, which is exactly what we want to
Yep.
happen. Because at the chamber, we simply cannot manage everything. So it's really fun to have other people doing things like Small Business Casual, running the citywide garage sale. Blue Ribbon Events is going to be hosting a craft fair. And we usually do have a vendor/craft fair. This year, we're moving it to what I call the South Mall parking lot, the one by Bremer Bank. Domino's Pizza's in that mall. And so we're having a craft fair as usual, but it's going to be in that mall. And we have an addition this year in that mall parking lot, which is a beer garden hosted by Neighbors Bar and Grill. So Todd, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that and how that's going to look?
Yeah, so the city, they reached out to, I think, all the establishments and asked if anybody would be interested, and Neighbors stepped up, and so they have, Joe at Neighbors, the owner, he's done a tremendous job of putting together a plan, and I don't hold me to this, but I believe like there's, like a bags tournament.
Yep.
There's a bunch of like DJ music bands, that kind of stuff. So that'll be in that mall parking lot, where us officers refer to that as the Domino's Mall.
Okay.
That's what, it's funny, that's people usually refer like Domino's, and there's a number of businesses that are in that mall that are going to have stuff going on there those days, so that's even awesome. But yeah, the beer garden is, obviously, Joe at Neighbors has done a wonderful job of trying to plan with inside that fenced-in area of the beer garden. I think that's important for people. This is not I can show up, buy a beer, and go wander around the city.
Right.
The beer, the alcohol needs to stay inside the fence line. Obviously, they're going to be checking IDs. There's the proper age, those things. They've opened it up to and I believe there's like a bags tournament, and then there's like a family, where there's kids involved for the bags tournament. So that'll be earlier in the day. And then once the evening, then the music will start and stuff like that. So it should be a really fun atmosphere. Again, we just want people to make good choices, and obviously, we're not going to tolerate that piece of leaving the garden with beer. We'll unfortunately have to deal with that, right? Yeah. And then two, it's just like I think we've said, just make sure you're drinking appropriately and having a planned sober ride from the beer garden, or for that matter any establishment during these festivities or the summer or the winter, whenever it is. So yeah, it should be good. This is our first year, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, and also I want to let everybody know that there will also be parking at that mall. So the first 2 rows basically closest to the mall, there are a lot of businesses there, like you mentioned. And in fact, on Saturday, Ladies Local will be going on, and there's a lot of businesses in that mall that take part in that. So there will be parking there. And there's also is it the Fairview? There's a Fairview dialysis clinic there. We just want to make sure everyone knows that you can still get in and out of there for your appointments and whatnot. And so just to go back to the beer garden, that'll be going on all 3 days as well. So Thursday, it's going to be 4 to 10. And then so that will be kind of the early night of the beer garden. Friday, it's going to be from 3 to midnight. And then from 7 to midnight, they're going to have a DJ in the mall as well. And then on Saturday, it's going to go 2 p.m. to midnight. They're going to have bags tournaments, as Todd mentioned, at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock was the last I heard, but that could change. And then 8 to midnight, they're going to be having a band. So it's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot going on. And if you are interested in the bags tournament or have any questions, you should just contact Neighbors Bar and Grill. But it'll be sign up the day of. And
this is awesome.
yeah, it's going to be really fun.
Go Princeton.
Yeah.
Well, and if you talk, we have the vendor, I call it a vendor fair, but craft. So the one thing that I think the chamber and the city really tried to do was tried to get everything fairly centrally located. One, to allow for people to travel to the businesses within our town, just walk, right?
Yeah.
But two, you have the vendor fair going on, And then we have the farmers market on Saturday mornings. That always draws a bunch of people. And so we're hoping that, this turns into, right, where people can park their car and not have to drive to 7 different spots. They can just kind of wander around and visit some of our local shops, and also go into the beer garden and have a beer and,
Right.
and stuff like that. And I know I believe there may be some food truck piece coming to the beer garden piece.
I think, yes, a Firehouse Barbecue will be there Thursday during the parade, and probably through part of the beer garden, I think. And they'll also be there Friday during the beer garden.
Yeah.
So, and then back to the things going on in that parking lot, the craft fair, the vendor fair, that will be going on for 2 days. So it'll be going on Thursday and Friday in that parking lot.
Okay, so in the parking lot, not in the mall.
In the parking lot,
Okay.
next
Right
to the
next
beer
to the
garden.
beer garden.
Okay.
Yep. And they're gonna be there from 4 to 10, Thursday and Friday, in that same parking lot.
Cool.
And so also then on Friday, we have the Lucky Duck Race down at Riverside Park. So if you're unfamiliar with that, you can stop in the chamber, or you can see a number of people in town that have tickets. It's basically a raffle ticket that you purchase for $10, and then that raffle ticket is matched up with a rubber duck. And then at 6 o'clock on Friday the 9th, we dump the ducks over the bridge, the Dunn Bridge, and they float down, and the winning ducks win money.
It's crazy.
Yep, those ducks come flying down the river. We got people catching them and trying to determine who is first. It's fun. It's a really fun
What's the
event.
prize for number 1 duck?
$2,000 is the top prize. And then it
$2,000, people.
It goes
Yeah.
down
Lucky
to, I
duck.
think there's 15 winners. It goes down to $25.
There you
So
go.
there's 1,000 and 500 and
Get
there's
your
lots
lucky
of different.
duck.
Get your Lucky Ducks tickets soon. And then, so on Saturday, again, there's a clue posted. The citywide garage sale is going on. Like I mentioned, ladies locals from 10 to 3. At the beer garden, the band, the bags tournament. Also at 8 o'clock in the morning is our annual Rum River Festival 5K run and walk. So that one, you can register the day of, but it's best to register prior if you can. Then you're guaranteed a t-shirt. You can do that on our website at princetonmnchamber.org. And Todd, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that route?
Yeah, so the 5K Northern Nutrition starts on, kind of in that library area. It goes all the way south on 4th Avenue, gets all the way down past the golf course, and then spins around and comes back. So I guess all we ask is that people more or less try to stay off of 4th Avenue for that hour and a half, 2 hours. Obviously, if you live on 4th Avenue and you're backing out of your driveway or something like that, just be super cautious with the race going on. But yeah, I mean, it's a real easy event, right? It's an easy pathway, and I think people enjoy it, and
Yep.
it's shaded.
Yep.
There's a lot of good tree line there, so that was always one of the complaints. Was our 5K earlier was always there was some heavy sun areas
Yes.
that people got fairly overwhelmed with the sun and all that. So this works out. 4th Avenue works out real well for
It does. And so that's just to be mindful that there are no road closures. So it's open to traffic, so just be mindful if you're driving in that area. We set up some barricades right away just by Northern Nutrition, because that's a check-in area, and that's where we want people to be able to get their bibs on and whatnot, and then it's not long, and it's first thing in the morning on a Saturday morning, so.
And you show
It's
up,
just-
correct? And then you can register on site
You can register day of,
Yep.
yes. That starts at 7.
Is there pre-registration, or is
Yeah.
it just day of?
Yep, princetonmnchamber.org.
Okay.
Yep, so you can register on, and then that guarantees you a t-shirt if you do that way as well. So that will be happening in the morning. And then from 10 to 3, the Mille Lacs County Historical Society is having an open house where you can come in and see a bunch of displays they have there. So be sure and stop by. If you haven't been to the Historical Society recently, I don't know if you should listen to our podcast where we had Barry. They've done such a phenomenal job there of, they get donations of things and then they make them work. I mean, so there's a working telegraph there. There's a train sink that is working. It's really cool. So stop by if you have a chance, 10 to 3 on Saturday, June 10th. Also from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is Food Trucks on the Farm. That is at Brickton Genetics. They have an event on Facebook, as do we for them. So if you, they have been doing this, I think this is their 3rd year. And they have a bunch of food trucks out there. They have, the kids get to kind of see what it's like, life on the farm. They have tons of activities. It's a really great time. So that's another thing to do on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have the Princeton Lions Fly-In Drive-In Breakfast at the Princeton Airport, and pilots eat free. So if you're a pilot and you fly in for the breakfast, you get to eat for free. That is a great time. They have been, I wish I knew how many years they've been doing that. It might be on their flyer. I'm
It's
not
been
sure.
here since I've been here, so
Oh,
it's, yeah.
long time. And then the Mille Lacs County Fairground is hosting a garden and standard tractor pull at noon out at the fairgrounds, and that's going to kind of wrap up the Rum River Festival. So
Cool.
there is a lot going on. There's a schedule. If you go onto our Facebook page, there's an event for the Rum River Festival that has all of this on it, including a schedule. And on our website, there's going to be a big sign in our window here soon. So
Yeah, and I
Just
think
have the
and I think on Friday you can hit, there's the beer garden, there's the craft, there's a vendor, there's, we forgot the races.
Oh, the races, that's on
are
here,
going
yes.
on,
Friday
so-
night.
7 o'clock on
So you
Friday
can
night.
actually, you can spend a whole evening here and get a lot of different activities, so.
For sure.
Bring in your families that don't live here, and let's pack up that American Inn and
Yep.
campground, and campground's probably already booked, but
Is the
Yeah.
campground open?
Campground is open, yes.
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I haven't looked
Bring
down
in
there
your
in a
friends
while,
and
so
family. This is going to be a great weekend.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Show off your community.
That's right. Yeah, so Todd, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, no, obviously, just now that it's summertime and everybody's enjoying the weather and we don't have, 24 inches of snow and stuff like that, everybody's super excited to get outside, and we're just asking, if you're driving or, it kind of goes both ways, right? If you're driving a car, let's try to pay attention. And I know there's, I always think about you're driving down Rum River Drive and there's just tons of things going on, and maybe your attention draws to something. Just try to focus on that roadway, or make somebody else drive. But that's, like now with my daughter, she can drive and I can sit in the passenger seat and just watch.
Watch for her.
But so from a driving standpoint, like pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to the crosswalks. If you're walking or biking, a couple things. We're out, I've been telling people this now for a couple of years. If you're a pedestrian and you're at a crosswalk, there's not like this invisible wall comes up. I think we talked about this last time.
We did.
Yep.
Where you're protected. What we're asking is that when you approach that crosswalk, try to make eye contact with those vehicles, because sometimes we get in the situation where we just come right up to the crosswalk and we start walking and we just assume that everybody should see us, and that's not the case. And then the other part of it is, even when they're coming up to the crosswalk, sometimes people will stand back far away from the intersection.
Yes.
So I know as a driver you think, well, are they really crossing, or are they just watching traffic, or are they going to go a different way? So try to just make that eye contact, and usually we get that really good cooperation. If you're on a bike, we've always asked that you walk your bike across the roadway. The reason for that is because if there is this situation, it's easier just to push your bike down and get out of the way, instead of trying to get out of the way while you're on a bike. Right. It's just you're just quicker at that point. And so, yeah, I think right now the message is just come to our city, but make sure that we have patience, and we drive and we pay attention to our surroundings, and it goes both ways. I want people to be walking and out and about on their bikes, and you see kids on skateboards or those two-wheel bikes and stuff like that. That's all stuff that when you're, it's kind of a dual responsibility.
It is.
I always tell people it's like a 50-50 here. This isn't like 90% drivers and 10% crosswalk pedestrian type stuff. This is a little bit of both. And so, we've had our mishaps, right? We've had people hit on bikes or people crossing, and we've had those incidences where people have gotten hurt or seriously hurt, or maybe just some bumps and scrapes and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like every one of them almost could have been avoidable if somebody would have maybe done a little bit better job of just paying attention to their surroundings a little bit. So, yeah, enjoy the summer and make good choices and have patience.
Yeah,
Patience.
word of the day.
Have
Patience.
patience. Todd, quick question on that. It's so fun to see the walkers and the runners, and people are walking their dogs and scooters and skateboards and stuff like you said. what is allowed on the sidewalks?
So, hot topic, right? So like we actually, believe it or not, we have an ordinance that says you have to be on the east side of like, if you're talking Rum River Drive,
Yep.
on the east side of the sidewalk. Well, so here's the problem is that I don't ever want to be able to just say to somebody, you have to be on the street. Like I just
If you're on a bike
yeah,
or
if you're on
a-
a bike or a skate, like I feel like that's just not proper. Like, because it's busy, right?
Yes.
And I think that if there's like, you take Rum River Drive and First Street, there's a shoulder, there's a pretty good shoulder parking spots and so forth. And so I think there are segments where maybe you could be on that shoulder or that sidewalk area, depending on the traffic. But then when you start parking vehicles, it becomes a little bit harder to maneuver around there.
Yeah.
And so, we've always tried to just stay with common sense.
Okay.
You're never going to have me tell a kid or yell at a kid, but say, you need to be riding in the road. That just doesn't seem right.
Right.
Get in the road, kid.
But then the other argument to it is, the one fear that we have is, especially like in our downtown business district, is kids or people riding bikes or skateboards or whatever that is, and someone comes out of like a storefront. Right? You could use like the chamber right here, So again, it's almost like a vehicle and pedestrian thing. They both need to work together.
Right. Okay.
So we'll tell kids all the time, hey, you don't need to be doing 50 miles an hour on your bike down the sidewalk. Like, let's slow it down just a tad bit, right? And then pay attention to people coming out of the storefronts, but then also telling people in the storefronts, hey, when you come out of that storefront, just maybe take a look to your left and right and make sure we don't have bicycle traffic and stuff like that. So this is kind of a lot of cities have this problem, right? Where they have this downtown business district and they have wonderful big sidewalks where we're just trying to get everybody to play together.
Yeah.
Play together in the sandbox, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. So, yeah.
I was honestly asking because I didn't know. I mean, I used to ride my bike. You won't see me doing that anymore, but I didn't know. I was like, am I supposed to be on the sidewalk? Am I not?
Right.
So I assume other people maybe
Right,
don't know
yeah.
that either.
Just be safe.
Yeah, ultimate goal.
Be
There you
safe and
go.
patient.
Patience.
Be safe, right? Whether you're coming out of a store or riding a bike or a skateboard, and we constantly are having conversations with people about, hey, maybe slow it down a little bit on your bike, or hey, so there's always those little things that we can be doing or reminding people of.
Also on Rum River Drive, I've noticed toward like the evening hours that there's a karate class, and there's always vehicles pulling out and pulling in, and there's always kids going in there, and that seems to be a busy
Yeah.
time for little ones. So just also be mindful down Rum River Drive with that.
It's that block.
Well,
Yes.
So
that's a great point. I mean, I think so. Part of the problem, in my opinion, I think I would rather see people walk to, which they're, state statute, we're supposed to go to an intersection, right? A controlled intersection, right? So the people that come out of a storefront, you see that where they cut across, right? They cut across, and what I think one of the misconceptions right now is that, well, like I always hear jaywalking, right? I always hear like those people that are cutting. If there was an accident, so let's say I'm cutting across the middle of a block, and a car has to stop for me, and somebody rear ends that car, the person at fault actually would be the person running across the intersection, the middle of the block. You're impeding traffic, and that's where we can cite for that. I don't necessarily know if we ever have. We've actually listed improper pedestrian traffic as a reason for an accident. And so we would ultimately prefer everybody to go to the corners, right? To go to those intersections. Like you say, the karate shop, I mean, we have a stoplight
especially if there's a
half
stoplight.
down, right? And use the,
Right
and
there.
I know people want to get home, and so maybe they just need to have a little bit of patience. Wow, we can start a game with this.
Yes.
Is there a song that we can end with?
But getting to that sidewalk, getting to the stop signs, those kind of things. So that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up.
I knew there was a song.
There's a song, yeah.
I've been trying to think
It's
of
a
it this
song
whole
for everything.
podcast.
Sounds good. We cover everything?
I think so.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for joining us for today's podcast. And again, thank you for today's sponsor, Princeton Public Schools, where every tiger has their own stripes, own yours. So
And thanks, Todd. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll be back again with our next podcast on June 13th. And then until then, this This is Zach, Kim, and Mary signing off. This is Princeton. Stay here, play here.
Podcast produced by Kitzman Creations, music by Charles Moe. Be sure to subscribe to the Princeton Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, to view our awkward moments, check us out on our YouTube channel and visit us at www.thisisprincetonmn.co.